Good afternoon, Guyana, and thank you once again for joining us for another edition of Government in Transition. My name is Peter, and this afternoon, joining us is PM-elect or Prime Minister-elect, Brigadier retired Mark Phillips. Alongside him is Attorney at Law, Mr. Charles Ramson, who is a national candidate for the People's Progressive Party Civic and also a former parliamentarian. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the 4 o'clock edition.
Thank you, Utah, for having me here. And also, hello, Charles. It's nice to be here with you again.
Hi, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone.
So, gentlemen, Guyana is anticipating the ruling at the CCJ tomorrow. We all know that the decision coming out of the CCJ will not impact the work of GCOM. The court is there to interpret the law and not to do anything else but interpretation of the law. But I want to begin with, first and foremost, the attack on the CCJ by members of the APNU AFC camp, not only on the institution itself, but also taking jabs at judges. We've seen the Bar Association came out recently condemning the attacks on the CCJ. We, within the People's Progressive Party Civic, we've always been respectful of the courts. Even if we may at sometimes disagree with decisions, we always respect the courts because the courts are there to maintain law and order. If I may begin with you, Charles, seeing that you're an attorney at law, I want you to give some amount of your thoughts on the entire process itself and the treatment of the CCJ and the judges by the APNU AFC.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hugh. Look, this is, first of all, I would like to start off by just condemning the attack on the integrity of the judges of the CCJ by the APNU AFC. You would recall, Hugh, that this was the same court and the same judges that they were jumping up about when the CCJ would vote that there was no third term in Guyana. This was also the same court that they were quoting when the CCJ had refused to set timelines for our elections when they had lost, the APNU AFC would have lost the no confidence motion in Parliament. And to suggest that these judges are corrupt or that they're taking payoff shows how low this group would have sunk. And it's an international embarrassment. And if they had this type of feeling about the judges, why did they not say this during the hearing through their attorneys in the court when they had the opportunity? Or why did they even appear in the court if they felt this way about the judges or the court itself? I think that they've sunk a new low, and it says a lot also about the leadership or the lack thereof of David Granger, because you can't on the one hand say that you respect the courts and you allow these types of attacks to happen on the judges and their integrity and the overall administration of justice that we adhere to in Guyana. Look, one other thing I would like to say is that these are crimes. What they're doing here in attacking when there's a case that's pending, attacking judges and trying to intimidate them, these are crimes for which individuals who are doing it could be punished. And even though the courts have not been very aggressive in prosecuting these crimes, it doesn't mean that the persons who are perpetrating these crimes, that means that they're immune. They can be called at any point in time to face the sanctions of these crimes, even from an individual standpoint.
Thank you. PM-elect?
Well, you, as Charles mentioned, the matter is sub judice, and therefore the APNU, should know better and do better. They have a number of lawyers in the APNU AFC. They formed a government, and perhaps a government with the largest amount of lawyers in recent time in Guyana.
Yes.
And somebody should be in a position among the group of legal minds to advise the commentators that, look, do not discuss this matter in public, because there are some international protocols that once a matter is before the court, you tend not to discuss it in public. But thank God that the matter before the CCJ, is the apex court for Guyana, but it's not a court of judges operating in Guyana. They're located in Trinidad, and none of the judges at present are Guyanese. So that court is an independent court and perhaps immune to any threats from the APNU AFC. Because, by now, the APNU AFC is very comical in their approach. Anybody who comes out or appears not to be in sync with their message, their thinking on this whole election issue in Guyana is likely to be attacked.
Yes.
And if the CCJ rule tomorrow, whether the CCJ rule in favor of the PPPC or not, that is not our interest. What is important to us is that we felt that this matter should have been taken to Guyana's apex court, and we took the matter there. Whatever the CCJ rule, we, the members and the leadership of the PPPC, will accept that ruling. We are not going to criticize. We are not going to criticize the CCJ afterwards, or try to make any comments before to appear to trying to intimidate the court. And we will like to divorce ourselves, to separate ourselves from this low life behavior of the APNU AFC. That is unacceptable. And we recognize and in total agreement with the Guyana Bar Association for coming out and leveling, their concerns about the APNU AFC behavior in regards to the criticism of the CCJ, especially now that we have a decision pending and which will be delivered 3 o'clock tomorrow. So APNU AFC again, with their delusional behavior, they've lost the elections, man. They've lost the elections, and no amount of criticism of any individual, organization, country, or whatever that has a voice or add their voice to the fact that they have lost the election and they should observe the norms of democracy, right? Any criticism of those bodies, the whole world is now expecting the APNUFC to criticize as against, to do the other C, concede. Stop criticizing, stop communicating lies, and concede defeat. That's what they need to do. And let this country move on. We've lost you there, Todd.
You?
Oh, we got you now.
Hello, you hearing me now?
I'm hearing you now.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We know that we have been very responsible in and out of government, the People's Progressive Party Civic, and we continue to remain extremely patient, even though we know that we have all the proof to show that we have won these elections, and we are allowing all of the procedures to ensue so that we can assume office shortly. And our behavior is I would say, well admired internationally. I want to move to the next issue or area of concern, and that is sovereignty. Both of you gentlemen are very much aware that sovereignty is very important for a nation in your international standing. And PM-elect, you've had 3 decades plus in protecting our sovereignty at the defense level. We've had a lot of utterances coming out of the APNO FC, even from David Grange himself, misinforming and misguiding the people of Guyana on the context of sovereignty here in Guyana. And many people really don't understand that we're actually operating in an international environment with international rules, international engagements. And the fact that we are violating rules that we've signed on to in many agreements, those comments coming from the international community and from stakeholders within Guyana should not be seen as an attack on our sovereignty. PM-elect, how do you respond to those attacks and those missives coming out of the APNO FC camp, including David Grange himself?
But as you quite rightly said, there's a misunderstanding. At no time did the government of Guyana was threatened in the exercise of its control over the geographical space known as Guyana. At no time was the government, threatened in its jurisdiction over that geographical space, that 83,000 square miles.
Yes.
So, in that sense, sovereignty was never compromised by any statement that anybody made. As you quite rightly mentioned, Guyana is a member of a number of international and regional organizations. And for the simple reason, as I mentioned before, Guyana as a country pursues its national interests.
Yes. Right?
Through these fostering of relationship with neighboring countries and being member of organizations within the region. CARICOM is an important member. Guyana is an important member. In fact, Guyana is a founder or founding member of CARICOM. And CARICOM is an important organization to us in Guyana. The OAS, the Organization of American States, a hemispheric organization. Guyana is part of that organization, and it's very important. And you can recall that there are times when our neighbors, for example, Venezuela, had made noises pertaining to our territorial, issue, the controversy over the Essequibo, and CARICOM came out in support of Guyana. The OAS came out in support of Guyana. Our neighboring countries like Brazil came out and made some clear statement in support of Guyana. Brazil said they didn't want to have a change in the border between Guyana and Brazil.
Yes.
So you cannot, as Carl Greenwich mentioned, in his town hall meeting and subsequently in an article, you cannot want sovereignty in one instance and then in another instance you feel threatened, you don't want to hear the word sovereignty. All these organizations and the leadership of these organizations are saying to Guyana, look, you're a member. You signed on, right, on the treaty, and there's certain parts of the treaty that you signed on to. Like the Charter of Civil Society that speaks about human rights, that speaks about respect of the will of the people, respect of the rule of law, and, upholding democracy. All the people are doing is reminding us that, look, you're a signatory to this, to these charters, and it appears that you're in violation. Put yourself in order.
Yes.
That is not an infringement on our sovereignty, because we were part of groups that told other countries the same thing. Recall, we were part of the Lima group.
Yes.
That spoke out loudly against what is happening in Venezuela. Democracy threatening Venezuela. Guyana was part of the Lima group that spoke out against that. So, if you have the similar situation in Guyana, what do you expect? That you will be spoken to. But as the APNU AFC will try to get their followers to believe that the whole world is against Guyana. The whole world is not against Guyana. The whole world is against the APNU AFC, who lost an election and is holding on to office and contravening all these regulations, all these charters that they sign on to. The APNU AFC is the illegitimate government in the sense that they lost an election. They should step aside, allow the new government led by Dr. Irfan Ali to start running this country. And they should have done that 126 days ago.
Yes.
You know, they're still holding on. We had the last election, we agreed to a recount. The recount showed 460,000 valid votes. And they gave most of the votes to the PPPC, 233. The APNU got 217. We have won the elections, and it is shown again in the recount that we won the elections by 15,416 votes. Respect the outcome of the elections, respect the results of the recount, and allow GCOM to do their work, you know, and perhaps what they can do, these statesmen and women, and concede. Because in many countries, before the elections results are officially announced, the losers will normally, if they're the incumbent, they concede and they move on. Yes. And then the formality of announcing the results may take place a week after or whatever. They knew since March that they lost these elections. Since March, they should have conceded. They held on to power for over 120 days, over 4 months. 4 months they have been suffering, the people of Guyana, by holding on to power and making a whole set of decisions that are not helpful to the people of Guyana, especially in the eyes of COVID-19, right? They cannot even bring relief to the poor people in this country by having a task force working effectively in the face of this pandemic. And it all boils down and come back to one thing. They are an illegitimate government.
Yes.
Allow the rightful government to get into power and bring relief to the people in all respects, economic, social, and other means.
Okay. Thank you, PM-elect. Charles?
Yeah, well, I endorse everything that Mark just said. But, you know, yesterday they had a protest. They had about 3 locations, about 20 persons. For about half an hour, there was a protest. There were more placards than protesters, and they were protesting mainly about our sovereignty. But I find it ironic that they would protest about our sovereignty when the APNU AFC would hire foreign lawyers to argue their case at the CCJ. I find it ironic that the APNU AFC would protest about our sovereignty when they're begging for foreign aid. I find it ironic that the APNU AFC would protest about our sovereignty, having invited CARICOM to validate our election recount, and none other than David Major himself referred to CARICOM as the legitimate interlocutors. I find it ironic as well that they would protest about our sovereignty when you see them taking full page ads in the newspaper in Trinidad to attempt to interfere and influence the outcome of the decision at the CCJ. And what about the situation where Guyana is now at the ICJ, right? The International Court of Justice, attempting to settle or seeking to settle our international border dispute. Should it be the case that, God forbid, Venezuela decides to invade Guyana to forcefully take the county of Essequibo, which belongs to Guyana, but it's in dispute? It is those same foreign forces that we will need military assistance from and we will need to rely on in order to protect that geographic sovereignty that we're referring to, that they are claiming that other people are trying to invade just by speaking. And I also consider it to be extremely hypocritical and deceptive of David Granger when he says that he constantly says that he respects the courts, and you see him having protests about courts and saying very denigrating things about the judges of courts. You can't on the one hand say that you respect courts and the ruling of courts, and then you are having protests about courts and allowing your party to say denigrating things about the judges of the courts. There's one thing that Mark touched on, which is about conceding, because you would have heard when David Granger was asked that will he concede, and his response was that he cannot concede because GCOM hasn't made the declaration. Well, that says to me that David Granger doesn't understand what the word concede means, because when you're conceding, it means that you're not waiting for the referee in a contest to make a declaration.
Exactly.
Right? That's what concede means. It means that you're not waiting for the referee in a contest to make a declaration. You are doing it before the referee makes the declaration because you have seen enough or that you've experienced enough to say that you don't want to wait until the referee makes the declaration. But regardless of, so he doesn't understand the word, what concede means. But regardless of whether he wants to concede or not, GCOM is the only authority that has constitutional supervision over our elections in this country, conduct of elections in this country.
Yes.
So regardless of what happens, GCOM will make the declaration. And having gone through the recount, the entire world knows that the People's Progressive Party obtained more votes than the APNU AFC.
Yes.
Those votes were authenticated by every ballot passing under a UV light so that it can test its authenticity. And then it was authenticated through its 6-digit stamp. And not forgetting that on the day of counting, every political, well, the APNU AFC and the People's Progressive Party had polling agents in every single polling station, the 2,339 polling stations where there were. And they all had folios which had pictures of the persons voting. So there's no possibility of those votes being invalidated or there being any voter impersonation. And no other than the chief elections officer had said so on a previous occasion. So I have no doubt whatsoever that the People's Progressive Party is going to be declared the winners of the March 2nd election. And in the last 4 months, all that we have seen is that there's a government in power, a party in power that is just holding on to power for dear life. And they know why they're doing it, because they know that what is the corruption that they are trying to conceal, but they are not going to be able to avoid the inevitability, and that is that the People's Progressive Party is going to be declared the winners. And some people fear that they will not come out of office. But make no mistake, Hugh, that occupying a building is not the same as occupying an office. And when the People's Progressive Party is sworn in as the government, the institutions are going to fall into line, and they are going to be de-recognized as the government, and they will just have to put their tails between their legs and form the opposition. And we will welcome them when that time comes, so that the healing could happen in this country. But until the declaration happens, there can be no reconciliation whatsoever because they're not behaving like honorable people.
Thank you very much, Charles. And finally, gentlemen, we've seen a long paper trail and mostly electronic trail of messages coming to the APNU FC and to the president himself, David Granger, about conceding, about obeying the rule of law, accepting the will of the people. And I think the international community has been very patient with David Granger and his cabal. And today, I believe Florida Congressman Bill Jose wrote to Secretary of State, United States of America, Mike Pompeo, endorsing his decision to move ahead with actions to deal with those who want to deny the will of the people here in Guyana. He also mentioned in his letter to Mike Pompeo that he had written to David Granger twice, telling him that he needs to accept the will of the people and to allow for a peaceful transition. When we look at all of these messages coming from the international community, especially the United States of America, which is our traditional partner and one of our biggest trading partners as well. What sense do you get out of this when you see all of the outpouring of messages coming from that end? I begin with you, PM Elect, and then Charles, you wrap up for us.
Well, these are the good people in the world asking, pleading with the APNU AFC to do the honorable thing. These are not people who are, wicked. They don't like the APNU AFC. They have some ulterior motive. These are people who are standing up for democracy. Yeah. And the organizations, as I mentioned before, are organizations who see it as their duty, their obligation to keep everyone in line in the name of democracy in our region, in our hemisphere.
Yes.
Because the people in all the countries of this hemisphere, they fare better under democratic rule.
Yes.
We know that. That has been tested. It's not perfect, but it's better than authoritarian or dictatorial rule. And therefore, periodically, the people are given an opportunity to elect who should run the affairs of their country for a period of time, that is 4 years, like in America, or 5 years, as in Guyana. And the entire hemisphere and the whole of CARICOM live by that. So the people went to the poll in Guyana on the 2nd of March, and the people elected the PPPC. I mean, the coalition, the APNU AFC, in the campaign that they talk about bringing back credibility and respectability to Guyana, and they run a campaign based on honesty, integrity, and decency. And at this hour,
I think we're getting some technical difficulties. PM Elect?
I think he's becoming so passionate. He's becoming so passionate to you that he's caused the internet to get some problems.
Charles, you can
I'll pick up from where you left off. The point that he's making is a really important point, because sometimes the impression is created by the APNU AFC that there's this outside interference to attempt to have some kind of regime change. This is not what occurred in this country. This country, there was voting inside the country. And what you see are statements being made as a result of the election, which was first counted and recounted in this country by the people of this country. So when they're making statements in support of the vast majority of people in this country. So that's number one. Number two, look, people just want to get on with their lives, right? People need help, especially now during a time when there's COVID, where a lot of people are finding it hard to get by. They see a government that was insensitive towards them in the last 5 years, having not satisfied any of the big plans and promises that they've had coming into government, and they saw them looking at, like, focusing a lot of their attention on themselves, right? Focusing a lot on their personal enrichment. People see that Guyana is a small country, and they also, at the same breath, see that they were also neglected. And we see that happening today. At a time when people need the assistance from the government, they're sharing out flyers. They're handing out lies instead of handing out hampers, instead of getting them the assistance that they need. So they see that this APNUAFC group is spending money on advertisements in other countries, or money on legal representation, or money on lobbying groups in the United States of America to the tune of $500,000 of some large amount of money, right? 100 million Guyana dollars or some large amount of money. All of this is happening, and people need the assistance. So it's not that people don't hear them, is that they don't want to hear from them anymore. The international help is only going to be available for a legitimate government. Ask the countries that have been sanctioned, where do they get the help from? And they don't get any help. They don't even have access to the money from their own resources, the sale of their own resources. You saw what's happening with Venezuela right now. All of their gold deposits are not being released from the United Kingdom. The oil that they want to sell to other countries, so that they can get more money, so that they can do things for their people, it can't go anywhere. It's sitting offshore. You've heard, if the sanctions come, they don't only come on the individuals, but it also comes on our ability to do business with the world. And Guyana needs trading partners, right?
Mhm.
If we don't even produce fans, we don't produce basic ordinary things like televisions and computers and the things that we need to run our lives, let alone being able to learn those things very quickly. So we need the world just as much as the world needs us, and we need to be part of that scheme. But the fundamental flaw that the APNU AFC is making is that they believe that everybody else is stupid. They believe the Guyanese people are stupid, and they believe that the international community is stupid, and that they believe that this is 1970. This is not 1970. Guyanese people are not stupid. They've seen through their lies. That's why you see that when they're asking people to come and support their protests, nobody's turning up. It is becoming such a comedy show when the APNUAFC is asking for people to come and protest with them, and nobody's turning up. It's laughable that they are unable to pull a crowd anymore. And it's a sad situation to see what they've become, but it's because the people of the country have become more intelligent and unwilling to accept these lies any longer.
Thank you very much, Charles. PM-elect, we lost you. You can give your closing thoughts and wrap up for us, please.
Well, as usual, I always appeal to the people to be calm. Yes. This will come to an end very soon. The CCJ is ruling tomorrow, but as I said before, regardless of which side or how the CCJ rule, GCOM still have to complete its work. And in completing its work, GCOM is aware that 460,352 valid votes must be utilized
Yes.
to make the declaration. GCOM know fully well that nobody, Mr. Lowenfield, GCOM itself, or nobody has the authority to invalidate a valid vote. The only place a valid vote can be invalidated is by the High Court. They have to petition before the High Court, and the High Court will have to make decisions invalidating votes, vitiated elections, or whatever. Nobody, no statutory officer. And I see on Facebook, you know, you have out in Field. He has followed the law, you know. Mr. Lowenfield did not contravene the law. But I want to tell you, if Mr. Lowenfield could look at 460,352 valid votes and subtract 115,000 valid votes, he has contravened the law.
Yes.
If he had done that for one vote instead of the 115,000, he had also contravened the laws of Guyana.
Yes.
So he has committed fraud and he has contravened the laws of this country, and it's only GCOM could save him by ordering him to submit a corrected report.
Yes.
Failure of which they should fire him or place him before the court.
Which is
They have the authority to do that. They have the authority to do that. GCOM has the authority to do that. And GCOM has the obligation to ensure that the 460,352 valid votes are used to make the declaration.
yes.
And we are confident because we know and the public know that out of that 460,000 valid votes, the PPPC has gained 233,000, and they've won these elections by 15,416 valid votes. And in GCOM's declaration, the PPPC will be deemed the leader, and Dr. Irfan Ali will be allowed to form the government so we can, you know, restart the development of Guyana and bring some recovery and rescue to this whole situation that is going on in Guyana right now. So I appeal to the people to be calm, and hopefully in like a week's time, things should fall into place with GCOM declaring the PPPC as the winner of the elections, and we have a new government.
Thank you very much. We promise to elect Brigadier retired Mark Phillips, attorney at law Charles Ramson. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this afternoon. And for our Guyanese citizens, continue to be patient, continue to respect the rule of law. Democracy will prevail here in Guyana, and we will together work in putting this country back to a prosperous position. Thank you very much, and have a good and blessed evening.
Oh, you're welcome.
See you.
See you.